Europe is heading for total and utter destruction. The worst leader of them all, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. No one ever voted for her, yet she is one of the most powerful people in Europe, and she's implementing some of the most destructive policies that our continent has ever seen.
Ursula von der Leyen just faced EU accountability live at CPAC Hungary. Young Dutch politician Eva Vlaardingerbroek dared to do what almost no one would: call out Ursula directly and expose the real human cost of her incompetent policies, from migration to the Green Deal, defense spending, and energy chaos. And let me tell you, Ursula couldn't just brush that off.
The team uses pretty words to hide their intentions, but they pervert and invert our definitions all the time.
Ursula von der Leyen is one of the most powerful people in the world. And I don't think most people truly realize just how little say the public had in putting her there. Do you know that she runs the European Commission? That means she controls laws, budgets, borders, energy policy, defense spending, and basically the economic direction for over 400 million people. Entire industries rise or fall based on decisions made in her office.
We, here in Europe, got 5 more years of Ursula von der Leyen. The thing is, though, that no one ever voted for Ursula von der Leyen.
And here's the kicker: she was never elected by voters. None of us got a say. She was installed through backroom negotiations between national leaders, quietly approved by the European Parliament, and that was it.
She's the one who introduced the Green Deal, crippling our economy. She's the one who introduced the Migration Pact, replacing
Power without consent. Control without accountability. I don't know about you, but that feels like a serious problem if you still believe democracy is supposed to mean something.
People were ready to have this conversation, but the elites were not.
That's exactly why the moment Eva Vlaardingerbroek stepped onto the stage at CPAC Hungary in 2025 hit me so hard. This wasn't just another polite speech full of safe diplomatic language. No, Eva looked straight at the system and named the person at the center of it. She said Ursula von der Leyen's name, out loud. She didn't mince words. She connected Ursula's policies to real damage, real people, real losses. And she did it all publicly, in front of a global audience.
There are 2 sides fighting. Here in Europe, only one side is. And I can tell you that it's not us. It's not the white native population of Europe.
Now, here's the danger with unelected power, and I think we rarely admit it. When a leader never faces voters, they never fear losing their position. And that fear, isn't a flaw in democracy. It's the thing that keeps politicians honest. Take it away, and mistakes stop having consequences. Failure becomes permanent.
Mrs. von der Leyen, do you think about what you have done? Do you think about the people who suffer because of you?
In Brussels, policies are written by people who will never live under them. Bureaucrats who will never lose their farms write agricultural rules. Officials who never struggle to pay heating bills decide energy policy. People who will never wait in an overcrowded hospital design healthcare frameworks. The suffering flows downward, but accountability? It never flows back up.
Where America is on a path to cultural revival, order, and economic prosperity, Europe is heading for total and utter destruction.
Eva knew this, and she didn't let her criticism stay abstract. She went straight for the Green Deal because, honestly, that policy exposes how detached Brussels really is.
And she's implementing some of the most destructive policies that our continent has ever seen. Just to give you a few examples, she's the one who introduced the Green Deal, crippling our economy.
On paper, it sounds noble. Climate responsibility, environmental leadership, a greener future. Sounds good, right? But reality doesn't live on paper. Reality is energy prices exploding across Europe. Reality is that factories are struggling just to stay open. Reality is families opening their utility bills and feeling panic instead of reassurance. Farmers were hit especially hard. Subsidies dropped, from 8.6% of budgets to 6.1%. What
Have only deteriorated here in Europe. Many experts have been warning for years now that a civil war is impending. But I believe that our reality is actually worse than that.
makes this even harder to ignore is that the people who designed these policies never felt the consequences themselves. They never had to choose between heating their homes and feeding their children. They never worried about losing land that had been in their families for generations. They wrote policy from warm offices, insulated lives, and guaranteed salaries. Eva stripped away the comforting language and exposed the reality. This wasn't shared sacrifice. It was an enforced sacrifice, imposed by people who would never pay the price.
White people are becoming a minority in their own homelands at an exceptionally fast rate.
Then she turned to migration, another area where Ursula's policies collided head-on with real life. Mandatory migrant quotas were pushed onto member states, whether they were prepared or not. Schools are filled beyond capacity. Hospitals stretched to breaking point. Housing markets tightened almost overnight, pushing locals out of towns they had lived in for decades. And when citizens spoke up, they were smeared.
The people were not just ready to have this conversation, but that they were in fact dying to have it.
Eva pointed out the hypocrisy. The people imposing these policies do not live with their consequences. Their children attend private schools. Their neighborhoods remain untouched. For them, migration is data on a spreadsheet.
Their concerns and experiences that have been ridiculed and dismissed for decades were finally being brought to light.
For ordinary citizens, it means overcrowded classrooms, month-long hospital waits, and communities transformed without consent.
She's attacking our national sovereignty even further by introducing the Rearm Europe program, an 800 billion euro defense fund mostly used for Ukraine.
Then came defense spending. Rearm Europe, 800 billion euros. I still think it's important to pause on that number. 800 billion, much of it tied to Ukraine. This is at a time when inflation is crushing households, food prices keep rising, and poverty is growing across the continent. Families are tightening their belts while Brussels signs checks for weapons. It forces an uncomfortable question that I don't think the system wants asked. What does it actually value? Because it clearly isn't economic stability for its own citizens.
And last but not least, when are we ever going to see those text messages in which she closed a 35 billion euro deal with Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer?
And then there is Pfizergate, the scandal that, to me, perfectly captures the arrogance of unaccountable power. Ursula von der Leyen personally negotiated a $35 billion vaccine deal with Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla through private text messages. Text messages. No formal records. No transparent process. When journalists requested the messages, they were gone. Deleted. Unavailable. Billions of euros moved with no oversight. At the same time, ordinary citizens are told that surveillance is necessary, that monitoring is justified, and that rules must be followed. Eva exposed the hypocrisy with brutal clarity. The rules apply downward, never upward.
And we see everywhere in Europe. Right-wing parties win the elections. In some countries, they even win with 30% of the votes. But since they never gain an absolute majority, coalitions have to be formed.
Eva never allowed these issues to remain abstract. She made them human. She asked whether Ursula ever thinks about the farmers who lost everything. The families are crushed by energy bills. The children were packed into overcrowded classrooms. The patients are waiting weeks for care. She asked whether Ursula considers the people harmed by opaque vaccine decisions.
Ursula von der Leyen thinks she is untouchable. She thinks she is above the law. But we are here today to remind her that she is not. So allow me to take this moment, look straight into the camera, and speak truth to power for a moment.
And let me tell you, in that moment, something cracked. Ursula von der Leyen stopped being a distant administrator and became someone visibly responsible for real harm. For the first time, the system itself looked vulnerable. People watching began asking the same questions Eva asked on that stage. Who decides? Who pays the price? And why does no one at the top ever answer for the damage?
Increasingly often in Europe, the legal system steps in and thwarts all true right-wing efforts by deeming the policies to be in violation of European law and human rights.
Rearm Europe only widened that divide. While households ration groceries, Brussels finds endless money for military expansion. Migration policy followed the same pattern. Decisions imposed from above, consequences absorbed below. And whenever citizens objected, language was weaponized against them. Criticism became extremism. Dissent became a threat to democracy.
Accountability will come to an end, and I will promise you, we will make Europe great again.
The fallout from her speech was immediate. Ursula's image cracked. A no-confidence vote came later, and it failed. But that vote missed the point. When power is unelected and insulated, votes become symbolic. Eva's real impact was cultural. She forced millions of people to see the system clearly. She made it harder to pretend everything was normal. She promised that zero accountability would not be accepted forever. Watching her speak, I couldn't look away. It's a lived experience. Families struggling. Farmers are going bankrupt. Energy bills are destroying stability. A ruling class protected by rules they impose on everyone else. Someone finally named it for what it is. And here is the question that hangs in the air. If millions can see this now, how much longer are we willing to pretend it's normal?